Hey guys, this is Turok, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing One Piece chapter 1189. We had a nice 2-week break to worry about Luffy and his fight with Emu, the king of the world. But now I'm back, and we're getting some information here that's giving me some other different thoughts on this stuff too, with the way Emu's powers work, and go over that later. But yeah, in the last chapter, Luffy was trying to fight Emu's weird flame powers. He had the little gremlin things that are following along. The chapter before that, we saw how they jump on him, and they were stuck on his cloak, and they had to throw that off. We're finding here though that Luffy's powers have almost met his match in terms of creativity here. The closest thing too was probably when he fought Kizaru. Yeah, he had to be quite careful too. And I was thinking back out of that fight too, and how Luffy turned into a giant, but he was able to find a way to utilize that power to help him still. But he did he did choose to stay out of that giant form afterward. And he tried to do it in the last chapter by turning into a genie, and that turned out to be something he had to be careful of too, because especially now with these flames here, they make him just a bigger target. And stuff for these big for those things he keeps latching on. So these things he keep latching on, like those little I forget what you call them, but they're different plants where you get the seeds stick to you so that they can spread. There are different types in the world. I grew up in New York State, and there were these ones that were like the size of almost like a marble. And now I live over here in the Midwest, and you've got these tiny little things that like the size, not bigger than a rice grain, but still pretty small. And you gotta be very careful if you walk out here. I got these cotton pants I'll be wearing outside sometimes, and I think they're even grasped on the denim pretty good too, and it's just so annoying. And this flames he keeps doing, and it's just like that. So you got to be very careful when you're fighting this guy. And Luffy ended up losing this round because he pulled out the sword here, and I missed this because I haven't been catching up on the other reviewers thing, but I think this is what's going on here. I know when I watched one of Tekking's a month and a half back or so, he was talking about something with the god names or something when he used one of those other things against Loki. But he's pulling out these different weapons here that are some kind of based on different mythical weapons, and we're gonna get some more here. And it's very interesting here where he's doing with this, and I have a theory about this too. Of how I'm wondering if there's like blood sacrifice type stuff going on here, or how is it? Because it's recreating weapons, it seems, and we'll get into it in a moment. But Luffy, lost here. Luffy was trying to run around him, and he did this attack there at the end, right here, where he pulled out. Checking my recording too. He like zoomed in. It's almost like he used a sniper ability, kind of like what Usopp did when he was honing in on Sugar to use his he used that thing made of the other guy's artwork to just to incapacitate her so that her powers wouldn't. She was about to try and turn Luffy and Law into toys, and I still always wonder if what would be the threshold of someone that might be immune naturally to her powers with Sugar. So I wonder if Luffy would have been immune to those powers, to her powers, or if he would be now with how strong his Haki would get. Because it seems, cause we saw this with Kaido and Big Mom, that they have such strong Haki without even having to throw it around or whatever, that it attacks on him. And like Kaido was even very drunk at the time when Luffy first fights him, and still a Gear 3rd elephant gun did nothing but just knock him down a little bit and make him more woozy. Maybe even give him a little bit of a headache. He got a headache certainly from falling. But anyways, he's using some kind of Haki thing here, and he pierced Luffy, and Oda seems to love doing this with poor Luffy. This is just like the shot with Crocodile. So Emu's doing really well so far here. Loki I was talking about in the last one or two reviews. Loki, I think, just doesn't have good enough Haki in general. He's just extremely strong, capable warrior with an extremely good weapon too. And but it's like I think you need more than that to deal with someone like Emu. It's gonna be interesting to see how he's gonna be subdued. Like I don't think he's gonna be killed here. I think he might get weakened. We will see. But so far, it's like we gotta figure out how his powers work, like and how to like he's so far been like really I was speculating that he's not really a capable warrior, so we'll still have to see on that. But he's so fast, he's blocked everyone's attacks all the time and or countered them with his omen stuff he's using here. So I just don't know. I'm not sure where they're gonna go. Oda's gonna go with how to find out his weakness. The only other thing I could think of too is that there is he does seem to be like he can't stay here very long. So maybe the end here is just gonna be a time limit of how long he can be here is gonna be up. No, he's fighting Luffy and if Loki gets back into this. So let's get into this now. Let's see. So yeah, so we start the chapter. This one's called The King of the World. And so it's focusing on it's gonna be jumping around a bit. So we get Luffy here, who's yeah, wait, was that the last? Yeah, he pierced him in the sword. So Luffy's still alive, and so Emu seeks here to to make sure Luffy can't escape and fight back against him. So he drives Luffy and the sword through the nearby tree branch here, and this was really cool. This actually shocks Usopp. His observation Haki is become good where he's sensing life forms well. This is something that was one of the first things we learned about how observation Haki can work back in Skypiea. There was the little girl there, and she could sense all the other warriors from her tribe dying as they were fighting the soldiers Eneru had at his disposal in that game he created. And maybe some of them were dying too, and it was she could feel all that, and it was very painful to her in a way, especially I imagine because of her family, her friends and family type, those for her community dying. So Usopp suddenly he reacts in such a motion that Nami's like, "Wait, what's going on, Usopp? What are you looking at?" And so she obviously, yeah, Nami doesn't have an actual Haki of any sort. They jokingly at the beginning of Egghead had a scene where she was after she was mad at Luffy for like having their ship fly off the waterfall. That Jinbei was like her temper was flaring up so much that he questioned whether she could have Conqueror's Haki. But if she does, she should get some observation Haki here, or maybe she wouldn't because she's usually rather. Because she's pretty much the weakest member physically. She's always, if she realizes Luffy's losing, she's probably thinking, oh god, I gotta get out of here. Or something like that. But Usopp's like saying, is Luffy alright? And Nami's like, so she must hear this, the concern in his voice. He's like, what are you talking about? Don't scare me like that. When has Luffy never not been okay? I'm thinking, well, Kaido said he defeated him, and you were ready to that at that point though she did say like, oh, I don't believe you. You must be lying to me. But you could tell she was scared at that point because Kaido was so confident in saying that back then, and so Jinbei says, well, Rami, considering that this giant here was defeated easily by this mysterious foe, and Loki's still getting mad when people say this, like, "Hey, Fishman, what are you saying? Who's been defeated? I'm just fine here." And Jinbei just ignores him. So Jinbei's there helping to make sure that nothing happens to Loki until a doctor gets there. And we got Ratatoska, right, is there too, and he wait, is that? That's right. It's Ratatoska. So I keep switching between saying Ragnar or Ratatoska. The squirrel is Ratatoska, but the weapon he becomes is Ragnar. So they bonded together. Right, so Ratatoskr, right, is the devil fruit, right? Technically, and the hammer's just the weapon. But so they became. How did they? So what did they do? Did they just you take the essence of the? What do you do? Take a little. Can you squeeze a devil fruit? I wonder and put some juice on something and have it absorb. Maybe if like they took the juice from Ratatoskr and when it's in its fruit form and you put it on the handle or the head of that hammer, it would a weapon like that. It would like that's how it would like absorb the. I'm thinking of the wood because wood is permeable. That's why you often, if you have wood decks and stuff, you gotta coat them with stuff to keep the weather off of them so they don't wear out faster. You can. I was thinking you'd have to put the juice on that because the head of a warhammer would probably be coated and glossy and whatever. That wouldn't have any permeability like that until like that stuff's stripped off by weather and stuff like that. So, anyways, Ratatoskers is sitting there with Loki, and Loki's denying he's been defeated. His honor, his pride there is just way too much. It's hilarious. Um, so we switch here to Frankie and Frankie and Brooke are checking in on Shuri, and so that the ice was starting to melt when Ratatosker touched it in the last chapter or the one before, and uh, oh yeah, so I thought Frankie was gonna heat her up. So Frankie says, like, Brooke, be careful. She thought, but we can't heat her up too much. It might hurt her. And Brooke says, don't worry, I have no body warmth. And that's kind of like something he'd probably use as a joke more often, but he's being serious now. So like that's interesting to think about too. That since he's still alive, he still eats and drinks. Like he was just at the party here earlier, and he what do you call it was getting drunk with Usopp, but it looks like I think he's being serious here, saying like his body doesn't exude any normal body heat anymore. So that's very interesting to think about. So now he's trying to talk to her, but she's still like unconscious. And I wish Chopper needs to probably get there and check in on her. No, he's gonna show up later here. I think it's momentarily, but he's like yelling to her, like, "Sure, can you hear me? What happened? Can you tell me what happened all those years ago? Where have you been?" And so he's still. So Ratatoskr comes over though, and he's like saying something to them, and Brooke. Oh yeah, Usopp comes up too and like checks, like, "Brooke, are you sure that's safe? Is she safe? She tried hurting us earlier because like she was the one who Brooke and Jinbei, Nami, and yeah, and Usopp were the ones that fought her on Colin's ship earlier, and she incapacitated all of them. And Brooke is just saying, "Please step away." I think he's saying more to Ratatoskr, "Get away, step away. I don't. What do you want here?" And so while that's happening, though, suddenly the ship starts barreling again. It's the same thing that happened. Just like this has just happened. Yes, we got to that part in yesterday's episode of the One Piece anime where when Luffy and Zoro about to free Loki, they well, not fully free, but Hyruden's crew came down to stop them, and it's the same thing now. They coming in, but this time they didn't run out of Island Clouds. But Hyruden and Gerd, who were in the village a little while ago, when we saw them last around the time. I remember when because Gerd was holding Summers, and when Emu came, he cut her fingers off, but Chopper was able to stitch them back on. But she's still not fully healed, he even said. But she's coming, Haruden's coming, so they're coming in too fast. And then as they crash by Loki, Chopper, yeah, that's where Chopper's there. He turns on his guard point and gets really big, and he mostly cushions Gerd. She goes face first into him here. Where's my mouse? Let's see. This. Right here. Meanwhile, poor Loki, I don't know. Part of the ship hits him, it looks like. And then the Hyruden and the other half fling over, and they just go flying over, and then Usopp's like, "Good gracious, what were you guys trying to do?" And then Nami's coming over like, "Who is it?" "Oh, it's Hyruden, Gerd, and Chopper." And so then Gerd gets up and is like, "Oh, Chopper, thank you so much. You're so helpful." And Chopper does his little shtick that he's had since the beginning. Oh yeah, don't give me compliments like that. You can't butter me up, you jerk. All right, now I gotta move this over. Hold on, I cannot see. Camera mounts in the way. And so Gerd's like, Stowe's like, oh my goodness, Loki, are you okay? Let me see your wounds. Oh yeah, you can even see. Oda's good with this. Is Oda's being good with this like consistency. Hold on. She's all bandaged up right here where Emu cut her finger off earlier. Okay, yeah. So we get up here and we're focusing on Hyruden, but first we hear more conversation with Gerd and Loki. Gerd's like, "Oh my goodness, Loki, you bled out. You're bleeding so badly," and Loki says, "Well, some of that's because you just threw a ship at me. What are you guys doing here, anyways?" He's I don't know what's going. I wish I don't know where Oda's going with Gerd. I felt like earlier he was gonna shipping them with Roto, but I kind of think her and Loki would be better together because he's just gonna be getting hurt a lot. And he's gonna need someone like her to be around to take care of him. Initially too, I was thinking, oh, what if her and Hyruden are gonna be together? Cause I'm sure Oda's gonna do some of that later, like at the end, after the end of the One Piece. I have a feeling he'll do the. This is classic with a lot of shows, other movies or stuff too, or other books, I should say, where they jump years ahead, and they you get to see how some of them who's married who and who has kids. So like in the mangas, like Bleach did this, where they jump ahead, and we see how Ichigo and Orihime get married, and Renji and Rukia do too, and they both have had at least those couples that both each have one kid each respectively, and then and other stuff like Harry Potter. At the end of Harry Potter jumps about 20 years later, and we see where Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny. We see and even like Draco Malfoy's got married, and they all have kids about to go off to Hogwarts. So I'm wondering where Oda might do that with some of these other characters. Like with the Straw Hats, it feels like it's up in the air with some of them, though. With Zoro, it's like almost certainly with Tashigi, with Sanji, that's one that's really up in the air. It's like, will he marry Pudding? I feel like it's going to be Pudding, and probably Hancock and Luffy. As far as like Chopper and the others, yeah, maybe Chopper, one of the Minx tribe members, because they're the closest thing to his. Because he's got he's a devil fruit eater, but now he's similar to them. So Hyruden, there's a little flashback here where from moments ago, Hyruden was did he get injured bad? I know he tried to. No, that's right, he did. He had an explosion, but he tried to swing at Emu a while back, and Stanson saw how dangerous he was, and acting like a bodyguard, he threw Hyruden aside, and his leg got cut off by in half by Emu, but he's recovered now too, and he's about to go help the others fight the Zaza god that Killingham made. But Jarl stops him and says, "No, Loki. If you're gonna fight Hyruden, go assist Loki instead." And Haruden's like, "But the children." He says, "Even if you save the children, it'll only be temporary. You gotta go help where it matters." Also here, so we get something interesting from Jarl, where he knows a bit about this. But I'm wondering, well, actually, they're going to explain part of this, but I'm wondering if he's ever suspected this before. It kind of tells us that he doesn't, but we'll get into it in a minute. But I'm wondering about this too, because he's been around for hundreds of years. So Jarl's like 460, is it? Or 416? So he's been around since more than halfway back to where the Void Century came. So I'm wondering how much he would have known about the Void Century from like his grandfather. So what Yarrow goes on saying, do you really think this plan to rule over Albath really just came from those decision makers at the Reverie? So I was thinking he meant the Gorosei at first, but he maybe meaning the council of the 50 rulers. And then Yara thinks to himself, no, I'm sure it's him. And so he stops there a minute, and I think that was Haruden's like, what are you talking about? And so I forget now. Did he? I don't think Jarl told Haruden what he knows. He's gonna get it out of Loki here, And so Hyruden was confused, like, "What are you talking about? When you talk about, old man? What are you getting at?" So then Hyruden goes up to Loki and says, "Loki, do you know who this guy is? This who is this mysterious foe fighting us now? What is going? What was Chief Jarl getting at?" And so we'll get back to it in a moment. Loki just we end this scene with Loki just saying, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who this is." And then now we go back to him though, and he's like, "So Emu's just probably been sitting here watching Luffy bleed out, but Luffy isn't his not longevity, his strength of will and stuff like that is really high. So like Emu's probably getting like impatient, like um." So now he's just thinking, oh, now that you can't move, I'll use another weapon to finish you off. So he starts pulling another sword out of his circle thing on his back, and he's like, I wonder how many it will take to end thee. And he starts saying, Monkey D. Luffy, what a hateful name. And so it's just like bringing back my memories of the D people. And so, oh, I heard that you have different brothers from different names. He's just going on. Oh, I understand one of your brothers was slaughtered by the Navy. And then he takes the sword and he stabs it through him. And then as he's doing so, he's like, oh, the other one's a prominent member within the Revolutionary Army. See, so he's kind of just pointing out all these different members of these people always are becoming my thorn in my side. I think he's getting at. So he pulls out a new sword. That other sword, he names it here. Oh, I forgot to look this one up. So he's bringing up other swords here, and I looked up some of the ones that come up later, these other weapons. And so he's pulling out weapons here. This is where it said the mythology weapons are coming out. And I forgot to look up where this one's from. So this one's a sword from Irish mythology here, and there's some others going to come up later I'll get into. And I have the other tabs here already from, yeah. And so he's pulling out these different weapons here of his thing, and he's using them. Each one's Oda's having named after a different mythical weapon. So again, we got the big sword that's sitting in the up there in the behind the Adam tree here, and I'm wondering if that's going to be like Excalibur. Yeah, so he finishes off talking about like, oh, these troublesome brothers and people bothering my. He's kind of. It feels like this is a Farquaad moment from the Shrek, where he's like, oh, he says to the gingerbread man in there, oh, you fairy tale creatures ruining my perfect world. So now we go back to the others. Loki says it's gotta be him. So he's continuing this conversation with Hyruden, and there's a little flashback, and it comes up here from the day Harold died. And Loki goes on, he's the one that red hair told me about once. And so he goes back and said, so we go back afterward, right before he left. We saw a bit of this conversation before where he left with the remaining guards, but now we're getting a little bit more. And Loki says, I'll use this power from this devil fruit to avenge the memory of my old man and his soldiers. And Scopper's sitting there listening, and Shanks is the one that steps up and says something here. He's like, Loki, I understand your rage, but this is this is not. But he gets cut off, and Loki's like, what do you want? Are you trying to stop me from avenging my father? And Loki's like, stop that. I considered Harold a friend too. I'm right there with you, but we gotta think carefully now. The good government itself tried to take control of Elbath. That's not their end goal, though. It's a preparation for a war. So he's hinting at a little bit of the stuff he learned from being in the Holy Land and Marijwa, and then so this is where we're like, this war he's talking about is like he might have heard of some so there's probably something here with the Harley, the book we saw that Saul showed it to Robin and Chopper a while back, and we saw the mural version that Ripley showed to Frankie, and so there must be something there where Emu suspects that rebellion will resurface someday, especially because he knows because of Lily spread the poneglyphs, and there's all these little events that have been happening. The people like Rock's coming back, and some of them still his family being around. Clover investigating the poneglyphs and reading about the history that were written on those and then spread out by Lily. And so he's been preparing for this, and Shanks is meant to bring this up now here. Here we go. So he says, wait, the world government is going to get a war with someone else? Who will stand up against them? And he's like, I don't care anyways. I just want my father just died an unjust death. I just want to, and the soldiers too, I just want to avenge them. And then Shanks says, well, okay then, but who will you strike down? Who will you go after to make pay for this? And Loki says, well, the world government, obviously. And it's like, no, like Shanks is kind of like, no. The person you want who manipulated Harold was the king of the world. And then that's where Jarl steps in, like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Their entire concept of the world government is that there's no king. And then Scopper says, careful, Shanks. Careful what you're telling him. And he's like, Shanks is like, well, it's fine. No one else will believe it. I don't know why Scopper would be worried about them hearing it, though. I mean, like, the giants aren't going to be able to tell many people. They probably just don't want to be hunted. Oh, come here, kitty. So here's something. This is just the next few words here, though, do get to Loki a little bit. So, and Shanks said, Loki says, oh, they have a king, huh? And he's the culprit? I'll just take his head, nice and simple. Shanks says, it's not going to be that easy, Loki. His power is impossible to measure. I wonder if did he even meet him? We didn't see that, right? If you go to the Holy Land, the mystery will only deepen rather than come to light. If it was as simple as you say, someone would have done it already. And this death particularly gets to Loki, because he remembers, he goes back to the years ago when Rox was around, and Rox would come there and visit and tell what his goals were, and Loki always wanted to join him. And so he's thinking, oh wow, so he's thinking back, is that why he really died? So now he's like coming to him like, whoa, Rox wanted to take him out and then he died at God Valley? Is that, he probably thought over this for a while after he left here. And Shanks says, it's just not time to fight yet. Don't go running blindly after them. And Loki's still just kind of like, whatever. He's like, shut your mouth and don't tell me what to do. Oh gosh. I get a little annoyed with that too. Like, he's not telling you what to do, especially in situations like this. He's advising you. He's not telling you what to do. So I don't care what this guy is or where he is. I'll destroy everything in my way. And then as he leaves, it's this Jarl saying, "Don't be foolish, Loki. Listen to him." And now that's the end of that flashback. And so Loki goes on. So I left home that day. And ever since then, I've spent all those years abroad, and in the end, I was never able to find my way to him. So if that is the king of the world right there that I've been seeking, I'll never get a better chance. Hyruden says, what did he say? Oh, he chastises Loki a little bit, saying that you just went out and did a simpleton idea like that, just trying to go head first after them. But then, I guess he was not. It sounded like it's supposed to be. Then he's like, I got no problem with it. But now I want a chance to avenge our father too. But it says my father. I'm thinking you should have said our father. And so, that's right. The others were listening in too. And Jinbei says, that is quite the story. I don't think I want to believe that. If there's a king of the world, what are the 5 elders for? To which I would say to Jinbei, it's like, I'm sure he'll figure this out, but it's probably just a lot to think about since they just learned about the stuff they saw the elders do in the last arc. It's clearly a facade. And the same thing too is, and furthermore, the elders are probably watching over a lot of the day-to-day activities of the world government, making sure the pirates, watching the activities of the Yonko, and then the stuff that's been happening there. Keep an eye on what Loki, maybe like Doflingo was doing at the time. He was going watching when Alabasta was cracking because of Crocodile's machinations. But yeah, this is like, Emu doesn't really care about all that stuff. He wants to control. He wants all the power, and he doesn't do any of the work. So Ratatoskr goes up to I think Brook's still trying to wake Shuri up, and Ratatoskr is a little scared, and he's going up to him saying something. And Brook's like, "Will you mind? Go away! Shoo!" But now Chopper's here, and he says he's translating. Thank goodness for Chopper. And he says, "I froze her because she's dangerous." And he's like, wait a minute, you froze her. So yeah, it's like it's his weapon, his powers that did that. Oh, I see how I missed this little comedic moment. And like Brooke gets very offended by that. And yes, she was dangerous, but not now. I'm certain she was just being controlled. And you see, this girl's like a daughter to me, so just stop it. And then Taskers is confused, like, wait a minute, you're a skeleton. How do you have kids? How can you have a kid? he's picturing the two of them together there. Like, that doesn't, you don't look anything alike either. You got an afro and she doesn't. I think, yeah, Robin wasn't here. So Robin shows up. This is probably one of her, she's able to make like a thing of herself. Let me see, right? Where the heck was she last? So this must be Robin, because Robin was with Saul. This must be I was like, how does she just show up there? I forgot. She probably just because she can like we've seen her powers earlier on in the beginning of the story. She usually just pull out arms or other arms like that and stuff like that. And but this is a that's right. She did this earlier when she tried to fight Summer. She can make a copy of herself that appears somewhere, and she can project her what she's seeing and hearing and everything from her main body to this. It's not a doppelganger. I should call it a clone, I guess. So Robin says, "Oh, okay, I see what's going on now. Why didn't I catch this?" She says, "Oh, this is all very interesting, but I need your help, Chopper. You must come to the library." And so Saul's over there too. Chopper, we need you over here. And it's like, so I think what that is going to mean, what's going to happen is that they want him to talk to Bibli the owl, because they go. So I think it's no, I think Lilith set the fire out, but then they were worried the books were damaged, and then they found a secret chamber or room there that Bibli was sitting with and had moved all the books somehow, and they were like, and Saul's like, "What are you, Bibli?" I like something, and so he's been here for 22 years. No, is it 24 now? 20 years ago, 22, 24 years ago, or something like that. And I think it's 22. And yeah, that's right, 22, because it's 20, yeah. Because I'm trying to remember the time skip stuff. But, and he's been there, and he didn't know much about what Bibli is. And Lilith was speculating that he has a devil fruit that just lets him, so when human-sized books enter into the domain of the library, right as they cross like the threshold of the door, they can transform into books appropriate for the usage of a giant. And so Bibli, though, saved all the books from getting burned by the fire. What was it? Yeah, Killingham forced Angie to start a fire that started burning the outside of the library and was starting to spread inside. So we're probably gonna get some answers there. And still, too, we still haven't got anything on what's at the top of the Elbath. I wonder if that's going to show up later here. We go back to Luffy and Loki, and so Loki stabbed him with that other sword before, and he's thinking Luffy's still alive, so he's like, okay, I'll pull out another weapon. And next, so he's like, the way he says this, it sounds like he's randomly just pulling the weapons out. The weapon, he can't choose the one he wants, and he's like, oh, okay, this will do more than slash thee. But it says, alas, the third will be the axe of Zhang Taiyan, something like that. This one apparently is a reference to some kind of god from Chinese mythology, which kind of sounds like, yeah, the Zhang. I'd have to hear it so I don't butcher it anymore. So Luffy's still like hanging on here, and he's like, just like, ugh, because these swords are not normal. You know, has they ever tried to make, I wonder if any of these supreme grade weapons or anything like that have been made from something like Sea Prism Stone. The only weapon I think we've ever really seen is the thing that Smoker has. So now we switch briefly to seeing Zoro fight Summers, and this is where we're going to get some information about what their power is too, and what Imu's doing. So Zoro's using one of his main attacks here, the 103 Mercies, Dragon Damnation, and him and Summers clash, and he pulls out this thing called, he says, just as Graham, and then he starts explaining this thing here. So Graham's another mythical sword, and he starts doing a little monologuing and explaining to Zoro, like 800 years ago, the 19 kings who created this world took an oath of equality, thrusting their weapons into the floor around the empty throne. 19 again because Lily, the great, super great grand aunt to Cobra and Vivi, abandoned the alliance toward the end there. Of course, now we suspect, based on what what's his name, Ivankov said, that that this is all both too, because Emu might be one of these other remaining kings. Um, so now he starts naming off the weapons that Emu had been using earlier too. The Blade of Chaos, the Vohu, the Nemesis. And he starts naming off some Longinus, Stigma, Muramasa. These are the 19 weapons of those who brought the world to heal. And the Great One used Omen to bring them back and grant them to us. There are no lies that are among the legends why does he say there's no lies among the legends each family passed down? He says, see this here, Zoro? This is the power that conquered the entire world. Oh, that's okay. As he was doing that too, he knocked Zoro back here with that. And so the sword's flaming now. And I can't wait to see how they decide to color this effect. Because Zoro's got his little upgrade too with he's got those green underworld things going on that he learned how to use when he was fighting King back in Wano. So yeah, these weapons now. So each of these weapons here, if you look closely, I'll pull up the shot in a minute. I was looking at the episode where Cobra talked to Emu, and you can see better in that detail than what they're showing here how some of the swords that Emu's been holding and what he's got and what Summers has looks like these weapons here, including that axe as well. So yeah, if you look here, there's a sword. This sword here, this is a shot from 100. Was it 119? 1119, I think. This is a really good shot I found with some of the swords, and this one here looks a bit like what Summers has been using. Maybe the weapon he's been wielding is like a replica, and now he's got the one now, maybe transformed or something. And then right here's a double-sided battle axe, and there's also a regular battle axe one side, and this sword looks kind of like, this one reminds me of, the guard of that one reminds me of, in Lord of the Rings, the swords the Rohan soldiers are using, or the King had one, like specifically where it curves just a little bit upward and it's very thick. And I think there was another he just used too. I forgot. Was it this one maybe? One of the pages just now, there was another one. I forget which one it was. It may have been this one or this one that looked like what he just used to stab Luffy with, or was fighting. This one might be more kind of like the one he used when he was fighting Loki, actually. So you can see some references here, how they're doing good with the consistency here in this shot, and then in Oda's and Oda's pulling out in these swords he's putting in. So the weapon each of them are getting right here is a replica, maybe, or something like that, of a sword that was from their own family. So Zoro's Somerset's from the Shepherd family, Graham. And so I looked this one up here. So that was the one here. It's a sword from the Norse mythology, but used by Sigurd, who kills that dragon in Fafnir. I have to look up that one again. I remember reading about this years ago because I think there was a reference to this character in Assassin's Creed when we did those truth things. Something about maybe that sword being a piece of Eden thing. But so we got that one here, and the next one was one that any of us who are familiar with some Christian stuff will recognize. We switch briefly to Killingham, and he pulls out a weapon, and he said, "This is a spear has been passed through my family, the Longinus." And so that one is a reference to the spear used by a Roman soldier when he tried to put Jesus out of his misery, kill him off. I think sometimes they reference this one as a spear of destiny. Oh, what was it? I think that's in especially in the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves. That's the spearhead that is a MacGuffin in there that the son of the devil wants, and then he needs someone to, like, he can't transfer himself and enter the human world on his own. He has to take a host. So in the beginning of the movie, he like possesses someone. He's like in Mexico or something, and he possesses some. I forget where the guy was from, but he was some kind of. I think he was in Mexico. The son of the devil possesses this Mexican guy, and he starts traveling to Los Angeles or wherever the main setting is, and he needs the spear of destiny to have someone else pierce him. I think it was like an angel. He needed an angel to do it, to pierce the host he's in, and then he can enter Earth. But yeah, this has long been one of those. There's a lot of stories like this about holy artifacts like this, like and again, the Assassin's Creed covers some of that kind of stuff too. Like there's some kind of veil or something like that. It was something like that in the Syndicate, and then there was the Apple of Edens. But and also there's like, um, aren't there supposed to be like fingers of certain saints that still live around in certain churches and or museums have them, and they're supposed to be holy still. So there's something there. But I like that he brought a Christian one and these different Western ones in. So we got Graham Longinus, and we had the Irish one. I forgot the name of it now from earlier. So this is the last shot right here, and so now we switch back to him about to use the Chinese axe, Emu, and he's like, "Oh, you should be honored to die by the weapons that created the world." So he makes a swing at him, and suddenly Scopper comes out of nowhere and stops it, and we end right there with him facing off against him using his own axes. It's very appropriate how Oda did that. He did the kind of cross thing, kind of like I like how he does that. Where Oda is very consistent with this. Where Zoro's usually fighting swordsmen, and then he'll have his swords blocking attacks. And now he had what's his name here doing the same thing with axes. So now Scopper's gonna be in a fight while Luffy and Loki have both been incapacitated by fighting him. So it's gonna be interesting to see where this is gonna go. Fight wise, it's like, can Scopper do anything more? We know he's a very competent fighter, but like what tricks will he have to deal with? Will he have any tricks, or will he just straight up be able to use observation Haki to block the tricks and the flame things that Emu has been using so far? Like I said in the beginning of this video, how do you stop that? Deal with that those flames getting on you? Do you Haki your body? Do you keep exuding Conqueror's Haki to push it away? What if you just did that? Remember how when we first saw Shanks using Conqueror's Haki? Not the first time. Really, the first time was with the Lord of the Coast. But when he was on Whitebeard's ship, he was doing that, and you saw like how it was breaking some of the infrastructure of the wood of the on the top deck there. And conversation-wise, this is going to be interesting because he was there at God Valley. He didn't see him and Rayleigh. They didn't see what went down explicitly with their own eyes, but and he was even commenting a while back, "Oh, this Haki's way different than I remember at God Valley." So man, also we gotta give credit to Chopper. He's patching up everyone overtime here, and they're all like still getting into fights now. Because Scopper got injured by Gunko or Shuri, and we just saw him though. Chopper must have left him. He was at the lift, I think, that they took from that goes from the underworld to the Sun World, and that's right. He was still recovering there several chapters ago when Chopper was protecting him and fighting off the other giants who have been Domi reversing. Who was there? Oimo Kashi. Kashi, I think, was there too at the time. So, and then now we see that Chopper has been going around. He was at the village just recently. Now he had to help Hyruden, Stenson, and the others who are all injured. Everyone who I was going to say Gerd, but also like Ripley and the others had been injured by protecting the children from falling before Loki came. So now Scopper's been resting over there in Branch 8, where I think it was still close by to here. So that puts the question of how long he can fight, because he's probably just all bandaged up too, because Gunko pierced him somewhere in his torso. But also, what I want to get at too is what the conversation will be here. Like thinking, "Oh, are you the thing that attacked us in God Valley 38 years ago?" I want to see if he'll try to get a little clarification of whatever Roger would have told him and what he's thinking about that, and what Emu may reveal there, and then what we can learn from that. And so that'll be really interesting to see. So yeah, this was a really good chapter. I like that they had this flashback. I'm glad that we brought what Shanks learned too. That was very enlightening to learn the stuff about this, what he found out when he there and he tried to tell Loki. And that's interesting too, because I think this might explain partially why Shanks locked Loki up. He did it because Loki was just going to rampage around and get himself hurt Shanks might have thought, and saying, okay, I don't want you to die. This big battle. I can tell. I was trying to tell you before. The government's up to something. Them taking over Elbath is not their end goal. They're preparing for war. We need you in this fight. I'm gonna have to lock you up, and for your own good, so that you stop, so that you are ready to help us in this final battle that's coming. That's what it really feels. This really like ties up to the stuff the mystery about him for the last couple of years of what he's doing. He's there repairing for probably. She's kind of like he feels like a little master puppeteer, but in more of a positive way, watching what's going on around the world and hoping that all the pieces will be right for what's about to come. And he's starting to feel like the one. He feels like a Dumbledore, like Harry Potter, where Dumbledore knows that Voldemort's going to come back, and we have to be ready for it. And I have to make sure he had to bring back the Order of the Phoenix, and we got to protect Harry, and we got to find out about the Horcruxes. Shanks is starting to feel like that kind of order there. Or if you want to go look at other anime, you got like Bleach with Kisuke Urahara, him and then also Shinji, who was Aizen's superior. They've been preparing for over a century in that story to like the wait for when Aizen's going to make his move, and how they're going to have to rally together with the Soul Society to stop Aizen and as he was amassing his Rancor army. And so yes, I'm getting the feeling Shanks, ever since this time period where Harold died, has been realizing, and that between that and being in the Holy Land, like there's some stuff going down, and we have to be ready. And then Loki didn't want to listen. And he's probably been placing his hope on Luffy being. I wonder if he even still knew what the devil fruit Luffy ate was. If he had ever found out the truth before Luffy even awakened it, as well. And the last thing I was going to bring up, I was hinting in the beginning, is I'm wondering if this power. There's two things here. There's like my first thoughts I was having this morning is when I was thinking about how these swords are working, these weapons I'm trying to replicate how where he was pulling them out of the flames. I wonder if those other people, the other kings and queens, could have been like sacrificed. I'm getting this feeling like, what if there's like a sacrifice involved in these powers to make it work? Because it's going into that demonic dark magic realm. Sacrificing other people to gain power is often a trope used. So I just had this feeling suddenly that maybe after they had after they had their kids, because there's still all these celestial dragons who are descendants of the 19 kings and queens. What if Emu sacrificed the other ones? Also, too, Emu, when they say that, it might be the other 18, because Emu might be one of those kings and queens. What if he sacrificed the other 18 to gain this immortality and his power, but he needs to do it again someday to keep this power? And also, the thing that was bugging me with that was like he said to Luffy once, he was talking to Loki, and he was talking about how when people gain power too quickly, that causes what was it, like greed, when you succumb to greed and stuff like that. I'm still wondering if like this power is somehow something that did the same thing to him, and he doesn't realize that he's just a tool for it. Like it's just he's a host for this power. It's like a parasite that just seeks to live off someone very strong like him, who has dastardly ambitions and stuff like that. But it also requires a sacrifice of others, and it will turn on him in the end. That's why I'm wondering, like, if he loses here, will that power betray him? Is kind of what I'm getting at too with that. And it's very interesting with that stuff. And and we still got to know too if Emu is the one of those kings, and I want to know what kingdom he came from. Are there any of those? Is he? Because he looks like he's a Lunarian. So were the Lunarians a kingdom back then? They don't. This is stuff I don't think they've clarified here. We just know that we keep getting the story. Oh, there's 20 kings and queens, and I don't think we know all the family names of the. I know we know some of them. I gotta look up afterward how many we've acquired from the that Oda's revealed over the years. We got the shepherds, and we got the Don Quixotes. That's right too. So that's right. Doflamingo's one of the families too. Yeah, there's still some up there, I think. But just was thinking, I wonder what his ancestor looked like. The whoever king or queen that fought with Emu at the time, what it looked like. Probably a blonde-haired guy, like we saw that his father was blonde. Was he got that hair? Um, so yeah, there's just a lot of questions out of this that come up, and it's just very interesting. There's like every little tidbit Oda brings up, it always just brings up more questions, but it brings up really a lot of room here for lots of theories. And I like how Emu was able to bring out these new weapons that are like replicas of his compatriots, his allies from back then. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting now to see what these weapons can do. The thing too, I was thinking too, is like, oh, these are the weapons that conquered the world. He said. I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't implicitly or whatever mean they're better than weapons Zoro has. Like, are these weapons supposed to be former graded weapons that weren't ever added to the list though? Of the ones that Oda's the blades usually that Oda's brought up over the years of the 4 grades, the Matos. That'll be interesting to see because Zoro has some really great swords. He's got 2 of the grade. I'm gonna call it grade. I'm gonna say grade 1 right now. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but grade 1 being the top 12. I remember the numbers 12, 21, 50, and the last one is unnumbered. Zoro's got 2 grade 2 and 1 grade 4. Although the grade 4 is the Kitetsu, which is a curse sword, which at least for me ups its grade value much better than it. I feel a little offended for the Kitetsu, the one he's got, that it's not a higher grade than that. Then what's it? The Sandai, yeah. No, wait, Nidai, Sandai, and Shodai. Yeah, I think he's got Sandai. Nidai was the one that Luffy stole and Wano, but then the other guy, Odin's dad, has it back. But yeah, there's a lot going on here. This is really exciting. I hope we go back to Zoro and his fight some point. I want to see more of now what these Omen power endowments do. Oh, that's the other thing too. One more thing. I'm wondering, the blood sacrifice thing also came to me because when you start bringing out these blades, and it's like these guys have the blades are members of their family, of the celestial dragons, these gods knights. I wonder if this is a clue to how many gods knights Emu can make too. So I wonder if the limit would be like, well, it seems that what was there supposed to be 12 of them? I'm wondering if the limit could be up to 18, which would be separating him and Lily as the other, because he's the king among the 20 that took the pinnacle of power, the paramount or whatever, and then Lily just abandoned him. But if he sacrificed the other 18 monarchs or something like that, and if these guys, he has these knights, what if that might be the hard ceiling limit of his ability to make other what do you call it? God's knights for as his servants. So we'll have to see how that works. I'm very curious what that could be the case there. But I think maybe the limit's at where he's at now, because he seemed stressed out when Harold died, and the Gorosei talked about, did they say like replacing him or something? And he's like, no, you can't. This isn't easy. He made a statement about saying this isn't easy to just like delegate to give that power to whoever I want. I have to be careful. So there's some limitations with that. And then it'll be interesting to see if the limitations of like him being here, what happens. And also if he leaves, is that limitation, does that hurt the boost in power he gave to Killingham and Summers? Or can they still keep it for a while they're still fighting here? And again, one last thing with that too, I was thinking is, again, does that mean he has to go back to Marijois? Or like, what's there that seemed to be the source of his power? Like the Gorosei seem very concerned about him leaving the thing again. So there's all these little things about that around this that keeps bugging me, like with his source of power and the sacrifice stuff, and what his source is and what it has to do with the abyss. Anyways, those are questions we could hopefully get answers for another day. Thanks for watching.